Christian nationalism is more than an ideology, it's a force that has shaped nations. Let's take a moment to unpack this. Christian nationalism, at its core, is a societal phenomenon that weaves together religious beliefs with national identity. It's not just about faith or patriotism separately, but about the fusion of the two. The impact of Christian nationalism is far-reaching, influencing a broad range of aspects in our society, from culture to politics. For instance, it has played a significant role in shaping laws and policies, often based on religious moral codes. It's also been a powerful force in electoral politics, with politicians often courting Christian nationalist voters. Historically, Christian nationalism has left its mark on some of the most pivotal events and eras. The Crusades in the Middle Ages, for example, were fueled by a form of Christian nationalism, as were the Puritan settlements in the New World. In more recent history, Christian nationalism has been a key player in debates over contentious issues like abortion, same-sex marriage, and religious freedom laws. But it's not just about the past. Christian nationalism continues to shape our world today, influencing our societal norms, our political discourse, and our collective identity. It's a force that can unite, but also one that can divide, as it often draws a line between those who belong and those who don't, based on religious beliefs. Now, it's important to note that Christian nationalism isn't unique to Christianity or to the United States. Similar patterns can be seen in other religions and nations, where religious beliefs and national identity intertwine. It's a global phenomenon, with local flavors. So, what's the takeaway here? Well, Christian nationalism is a complex and powerful force, one that's deeply rooted in history and continues to shape our world in profound ways. It's not just about religion or national identity, but about the fusion of the two and the impact of that fusion on our society, our politics, and our collective identity. Understanding Christian nationalism requires us to delve deep into its roots. And that's exactly what we're going to do in the next scenes. Stay tuned. The seeds of Christian nationalism were sown centuries ago, but its growth has been anything but linear. The roots of this ideology can be traced back to the earliest days of Christianity, when the religion was still in its infancy. As Christianity spread, it became intertwined with the power structures of the time, with rulers often using the faith to legitimize their authority. Fast forward to the Middle Ages and the concept of a holy empire began to take shape. This was a time when the church and state were closely linked and religious leaders wielded significant political power. The idea of a nation under God was firmly established, setting the groundwork for what would later become Christian nationalism. The Reformation in the 16th century brought a new dynamic to the relationship between Christianity and nationalism. As religious authority was challenged and decentralized, the idea of a national church emerged in many parts of Europe. This shift was crucial in the development of Christian nationalism as it further intertwined faith with national identity. In the United States, the idea of a Christian nation took root early on, with many of the country's founding fathers holding strong religious beliefs. However, it wasn't until the 20th century that Christian nationalism as we know it today really began to take shape. During the Cold War era, the concept of God and country was used as a rallying cry against the perceived threat of communism. Key figures have played significant roles in the development of Christian nationalism. From influential religious leaders to political figures who championed the cause, their contributions have helped shape the ideology and its impact on society. The evolution of Christian nationalism has been marked by periods of growth and retreat, influenced by political, social, and cultural changes. It's a movement that has adapted and evolved, reflecting the times in which it exists. It's important to remember that Christian nationalism is not a monolith. It's a complex ideology with diverse interpretations and expressions, and while it has its roots in history, it continues to evolve, shaped by the changing dynamics of faith, politics, and society. As we trace the growth of Christian nationalism, we begin to understand its complex nature. Today, Christian nationalism is a potent force that influences many aspects of life. A complex tapestry of belief and identity, it continues to shape our society in profound ways. In the political landscape, Christian nationalism is both a rallying cry and a divisive wedge. It's not uncommon to see politicians weaving biblical principles into their campaign platforms or religious symbols prominently displayed at political rallies. This fusion of faith and politics can galvanize certain voting blocs, but it can also create tension and division, among those who hold different beliefs. Religious freedom, a cornerstone of democratic societies, is another area impacted by Christian nationalism. While proponents argue that it safeguards the right to practice Christianity freely, critics contend that it can encroach upon the religious liberties of others. A striking example of this tension can be seen in debates around religious liberty laws, which some argue protect religious freedom, while others fear they enable discrimination in the name of faith. Societal inclusivity, too, is affected by the rise of Christian nationalism. The intertwining of national identity with a specific religious identity can create an us versus them dynamic where those who do not subscribe to the dominant religious beliefs may feel marginalized or excluded. This can be illustrated by the heated debates around issues like immigration and multiculturalism, where the rhetoric often carries undertones of religious and national identity. Christian nationalism is not just a movement or an ideology, it's a lens through which many people view the world. It shapes how they interpret current events, how they vote, and how they interact with their fellow citizens. Its influence extends far beyond the confines of churches or political rallies. It permeates everyday life, subtly shaping our norms, values, and beliefs. The influence of Christian nationalism is pervasive, shaping our worldview in ways we may not even realize. As we continue to navigate the complexities of this phenomenon, it's crucial to keep the dialogue open, to listen, to question, and to strive for understanding. After all, it's only through understanding that we can hope to bridge the divides and build a more inclusive society. But what does it mean for a nation when religion and national identity become intertwined? This question brings us to the potential consequences of Christian nationalism, a topic that is as complex as it is impactful. In the realm of democracy, Christian nationalism can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, it can foster a sense of unity and common purpose, providing a shared moral compass that guides the nation. However, on the other hand, it can also lead to the marginalization of those who do not share the same religious beliefs, undermining the principles of pluralism and inclusivity that are cornerstones of a healthy democracy. When we shift our gaze to human rights, the picture is equally intricate. While the moral tenets of Christianity can serve as a strong advocate for human rights, the merging of religious values with national identity can also pave the way for rights violations. This is particularly true when the doctrine of Christian nationalism is used to justify discrimination or exclusion based on religious, racial, or ethnic differences. The social cohesion of a society is yet another area where the influence of Christian nationalism is felt. In a positive light, it can create a strong sense of community and shared values. Yet at the same time, it can also foster division and conflict, particularly when religious beliefs are used as a litmus test for patriotism or national belonging. In exploring these consequences, it's crucial to remember that the impact of Christian nationalism is not monolithic. It can vary greatly depending on the context and how it is interpreted and implemented. It's a multifaceted phenomenon, one that can bring both unity and division, inclusivity and exclusion, protection and violation of human rights. The consequences of Christian nationalism can be profound, reshaping societies and altering the course of history. As we continue to navigate its complexities, the need for open dialogue and critical thinking becomes ever more crucial. Our exploration of Christian nationalism doesn't end here. In fact, it's just the beginning. Unmasking Christian nationalism is a continuous and evolving journey. It's not about drawing definitive conclusions or cementing rigid beliefs, but rather it's about fostering an environment of open dialogue, respectful conversation, and critical thinking. Complex societal issues like these aren't resolved overnight. They require patience, understanding, and a willingness to engage in meaningful conversations. Bear in mind, it's not about agreeing or disagreeing with the philosophy of Christian nationalism. It's about understanding it, its historical context, its ideological underpinnings, and its impact on our society. Christian nationalism, like any other societal phenomenon, is multifaceted. It's intertwined with our religious beliefs, our political ideologies, and our national identity. It's not a subject that can be understood in isolation or through a single perspective. It demands a holistic understanding, a nuanced view that takes into account all its dimensions and implications. We encourage you to continue this dialogue in your own circles. Engage with others, ask questions, share your thoughts, and listen to the perspectives of others. Remember, conversation is not a battleground where ideas battle each other to the death. It's a marketplace, where ideas can be exchanged, refined, and evolved. But let's not forget the importance of respect and empathy in these discussions. It's easy to let our emotions get the best of us when discussing topics close to our hearts. However, remember that everyone is entitled to their beliefs and opinions. It's not about who's right and who's wrong, but about understanding different viewpoints and finding common ground. So let's keep this conversation going. Let's continue to delve deeper into the roots and effects of Christian nationalism. Let's strive to understand it better, to question it, to explore its implications, and to discuss its role in shaping our society. Remember, understanding is the first step to effecting change, so keep the conversation going.
We are constantly making new content to help you on your walk of faith. Please like and subscribe to make sure you stay up to date with the latest content.